welcome into Surviving Paradise, the podcast that takes a sometimes serious, oftentimes humorous look at the claim by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses that they are providing a modern-day spiritual paradise. I'm your host, Stacy Bauman, former elder, ministerial servant, and a kid raised as a witness throughout the 70s and 80s. As I do, warning, we try to have some fun here, healing, laughter, sarcasm, humor, experiences, stories, never meant to offend anybody that might be new here, want to clarify that, or someone that's very uncomfortable but bravely listening, perhaps a witness on the fence and exploring. Please welcome, stay. I want to briefly touch on the disappointing verdict in Norway just at the outset. I haven't commented on this yet. I'm sure we all agree that those that put their heart and soul into this entire effort to create awareness of the shunning practices of Jehovah's Witnesses against all, but especially baptized children, those folks in Norway and those that supported them deserve our deep appreciation and respect, and a huge thank you to all of you. Absolutely incredible effort. I can't imagine the emotion that went into their plan, their effort, their testimonies, and some of them were raw. Really appreciate what they did as I followed along during several testimonies during the court case. And I also want to call out those that kept us updated via Twitter, social media, and the like. Larchwood as an example. What a great resource. It was really heartbreaking to hear some of the stories. And I was also struck by how difficult it is to get outsiders to understand what really goes on inside Jehovah's Witnesses. It's very difficult to explain subtleties and nuance or culture. As most likely know, the Court of Appeals in Norway rebuked the country's government for not respecting the religious freedom of Jehovah's Witnesses. The state's accusation that the group is guilty of psychological violence against minors, and they are, the court and government claimed it's just not true, according to the judges involved. It was a gut punch. And anyone who has been a Jehovah's Witness knows for a fact that they baptize children and teenagers and then hold them to a lifetime of standards that are meant for adults when it comes to discipline, slipping up, making a mistake, changing your mind. They shun them. For some, for their entire lives. Kids. For anyone that doesn't believe that, I'll state plainly that you are delusional and you're lying to others and yourself. I was hopeful that that famous deleted video showing a young woman disfellowshipped would make an impact in this case. I know they showed it in Norway. It looks like it did not enough. But I'm here to say that not all is lost, and those people deserve big hugs and kudos. Those brave souls in Norway created a spotlight on this heinous practice. And I suspect that some sort of new light changes will be coming in order to protect the organization. Stay tuned. You know they're coming. And it's all about legality. It's nothing to do with spirituality. And, well, that's how Jesus rolls, right? Okay, got that out of the way. It's now time for an update from Jesus Christ's favorite 11 men located in upstate New York. I know you've been waiting with bated breath. While the world, by the way, and I took the time to look this up, while the world is experiencing 110 armed conflicts at this very moment, while the Center for Disease Control is reporting on 17 global disease outbreaks, while the U.S. Geological Survey is reporting a whopping 817 earthquakes, that's just those of a magnitude of 4.0 or greater over just the last 30 days. With all of that going on this planet, well, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses has an update for us on how things are going in these last days, the last days of the last days that never really actually end. And I've got to tell you, this governing body update, too, Number 2 is a special episode. It just dawned on me how appropriate that is. Number 2, because this is a lot of crap. Stay tuned. The 11 men plucked from among all of mankind are marching out one of their newest faces to host Governing Body Update number 2. Settle in as we receive food at the proper time from none other than newly appointed future king priest Jacob Rumpf. He makes his debut on the Governing Body. Welcome in. For what must be considered a life-altering 17 minutes and 56 seconds that you can view on their website, Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be treated to the most important information the governing body wants all of mankind to know about in March of 2025. And I'm sure we're all on the edge of our seats, and frankly, look, you should be. I'm going to try my best to summarize what were the highlights from my perspective. And as I do, full disclosure, I came away with a mix of anger and, of course, laughter. It's a healing thing, folks. Despite knowing how a Jehovah's Witness is trapped inside this cult, there are still moments where I'm shocked by all the ambivalence. And this is where we begin in this Governing Body Update number 2, just the highlights. Future King Priest Jacob Rumpf starts strong. Big shocker, they're big on introductions. With a grin on his face, he says that they have a, quote, encouraging update about Eritrea, end quote. Wow. Quick refresher. As you might remember, they've been hovering in Eritrea for the past couple updates. It's a small country on the east coast of Africa, their favorite place, directly across the Red Sea from Saudi Arabia. Now, in recent updates, we learned about Jehovah's Witnesses being imprisoned there, including an elderly sister in her late 80s. That shifted the next update to teenagers. He says, quote, you might recall that in April of 2014, Eritrean authorities arrested 31 of our brothers and sisters during a peaceful congregation meeting, end quote. And at this point, this sprung to mind. Just a note for those that may be new to Jehovah's Witnesses. While I personally support people worshiping anything and in any way that doesn't hurt other people, especially those who don't share the beliefs, it's at least important to note that when Brother Rumpf is mentioning these peaceful congregation meetings of Jehovah's Witnesses, those meetings often include messages such as this one. From the Watchtower of June 15th, 1978, page 15, the faithful slave says, quote, all these man-made governments and radical groups must be cleared from the earth to make way for the kingdom government administered by God's appointed King, Jesus Christ. End quote. What could go wrong when a government hears that? Each and every meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses usually features some mention that the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses will soon replace all human governments. I wonder if that could get a government's attention in Eritrea. How this happens is given in great details to Jehovah's Witnesses, all the way down to details like this from the Watchtower of April 1st, 1965, page 212. Witnesses are told, quote, yes, today, with Armageddon staring us in the face. Did I mention this is from 1965? Back to the quote, we must keep in mind the sobering thought that millions, even billions of lives may shortly come to a swift and decisive end putting their one-time owners beyond the reach of any expression of love on our part. End quote. No mention of God's love, Jesus' ransom sacrifice, but Tommy, that kid you ride bikes with down the street, he will soon meet his end in bloody fashion. Of course, this is from 65. What soon means, I'll leave that up to you. And if you're curious what such an event looks like, Jehovah's Witnesses have in their publications many illustrations of people being killed, dying, getting crushed by various objects, swallowed by earthquakes, and running as the skies are filled with fireballs aimed at their face. Even Jehovah's Witness kids get to enjoy such heartwarming reminders and messaging at what Brother Rump in this update calls peaceful congregation meetings. Wonder why Eritrea is feeling sensitive. But carry on, Brother Rump. Whether or not these meetings in Eritrea were truly peaceful is open to debate. We don't know the content. Nonetheless, people inside listening to another boring talk, and boom, according to Brother Rump, they were arrested in 2014. So we're excited for the update. What is the update? Well, Governing Body Update 2 on video introduces us to a new face from Eritrea. Her name is Sister Mikal, hope I'm saying that right, who we are told was arrested that night in 2014 along with her siblings. He then breaks into a huge smile and says into the camera, quote, "But we are pleased to announce that on February 25th, 2025, after almost 11 years in prison, Sister Mikal was released and reunited with her family. She is in good spirits and is receiving the medical care that she needs." End quote. I hope so. 11 years this young woman spent in prison. For what? No details are given. Why did they release the others but keep her 11 years? We don't know. Absolutely nothing is shared with the audience. What have you been doing for her for the past 11 years? We don't know. Nothing is shared with the audience. We get a photo of this poor sister smiling and frankly looking a bit older. 11 years of her life are gone. We are told for being at a meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses in 2014. And why exactly did they mention her medical treatment? Is she okay? Has she been suffering for 11 years? Again, what have you been doing to help her? Does she by chance know the 86-year-old sister you mentioned a couple months ago in another governing body update? Why not update us on the elderly sister? I've got some theories. Is she still alive? Is Sister Mikal, this woman, okay? So many questions. Who paid for the medical treatment that she needed? Incidentally, Brother Rump, was it the organization that made sure she was okay? Again, we're never told. Just a few sentences and a photo and a smiling Brother Rump. And I'm not even going to try to hide the fact that I was pissed. I was angry. There is no way we can bypass the fact that these are precious, unique souls, people, who apparently are only good for updates or for a story or for a name drop. And what I can only discern is an insinuation that they, Brother Rump and his 10 best friends, had something to do with her release. We don't know, but let's be honest. Did they? We just don't know. Why was this sister locked up for 11 years? If they truly had something to do with her release, they would have told us right here on this update, folks, and leveraged it into how it's Jehovah that alone blesses the 11 men in New York who got her out. My guess is they had nothing to do with it. And if you think I'm being too critical, consider what governing body brother host guy Jacob Rumpf says next. Quote, "We continue to pray for the 251 brothers and sisters from around the world who are imprisoned for their faith. And this includes 65 in Eritrea." End quote. And that's it, folks. That's all we get in the update. They seem to be almost parsing this out with each update. We get another new face, we get another new name from Eritrea, but they have 65 of them behind bars to apparently choose from for each update. Why she got out and 65 others did not, well, we don't know. We don't ask too many questions because you're not encouraged to think if you're a Jehovah's Witness. They're only precious souls and stuff. And by the way, where are the other almost 200 people around the world? Are they okay? What are you doing for them, Brother Rumpf? And all I could think of is, my bad. My bad, I'm sorry. First, you don't question the king priest. Second, like last month's update, he confirms that they're continuing to pray for these people in prison. Undoubtedly, probably just before their next healthy meal with farm fresh food in their luxurious dining room on the resort compound in upstate New York. But they're praying. How helpful. It looks like Jehovah heard them because he freed Sister Mikal after 11 years. The other 65 will just have to wait their turn in Eritrea. Maybe these guys can offer more prayers. Would it help? Maybe as they take a walk through the trees around that beautiful pond at World Headquarters. Just as a reminder, these 11 men are able to build state-of-the-art movie studios because we were told a few weeks ago that Jehovah, the Creator, blessed them and apparently got their building permits approved. Remember the update? The same God and his 11 guys on earth, well, the 251 people he mentions in various prisons worldwide, not so much. Jehovah doesn't seem to get involved with them. Making a movie is far more important than saving the lives of his loyal followers, or so we can conclude. Do with it what you will. But Brother Rumpf isn't done leveraging other people's misfortunes and pain. He goes on to tell us that, quote, "Just the first 6 months of the 2025 service year, our brothers and sisters have been affected by over 100 disasters," end quote. First and foremost, terrible. Terrible, painful, a tragedy. It doesn't matter who has been impacted by a disaster. These are human beings like the rest of us, just like you and me. But they apparently want to call out that brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witnesses, in the first 6 months of this service year, there's been over 100 disasters. But pay special attention to what Brother Rumpf says next on the update. He says, quote, "But because of your generous donations to the worldwide work so far for this service year, we've been able to spend $6 million to provide relief. We thank all of you for your loving support." End quote. We? Who exactly, Jacob, is we? How many Jehovah's Witnesses or any of us know about their other neat website? It's not quoted much, and I hate giving out these URLs, but I do think it's worth a look. The website is called donate.jw.org. Are you familiar with this? Please go look. Under the About Donations section, People are told, quote, our worldwide religious and humanitarian activities uh, are supported by voluntary donations, end quote. You'll look there at the many different ways, including PayPal, checking, cash, you name it, that you can give them your money. And there's no other way to say this, whether it's the people that were part of these disasters, and especially this $6 million he mentions they gave. Folks, it's your money. When they use the word we or we've, it's downright comical. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and haven't examined how this organization manages money yet, let me summarize. You essentially send them your money via this website or by dropping in cash or a check at the Kingdom Hall in a box. It's sent to New York, and someone back there at headquarters under the leadership of the governing body, they manage your money, your gift, your donation. In other words, you want to help someone who's in trouble, one of these victims. They tell you how, or even if, you can do that. That's right. A Jehovah's Witness just wants to give to a person or persons in need in a specific country or location. It's called humanity. It's called love. I'm not going to quote all the Bible verses. And well, they can't. A Jehovah's Witness can't. They must send it to New York. They'll decide. So naturally, Jacob Rumpf here says we, because ultimately the governing body decides how to use your gift and your money. And if you don't believe that as a Jehovah's Witness, allow me. I'm going to read it word for word. Bear with me. From the Kingdom Ministry of January 2005, page 7, the question box. This be a little long-winded quote. Here we go. The question was posed, allegedly, quote, what is the best way to make contributions for the benefit of needy brothers in other lands? The answer, quote, at times we hear about brothers in another land who have come into material need because of persecution, disaster, or other difficult circumstances. Some brothers have been moved to send funds directly to the branch offices in such lands, requesting that the money be used to help a certain individual, a particular congregation, or a designated building project. End quote for a moment. If you're following their line of reasoning, you've sent money and you've requested that it be given to John and Susie, who had their house demolished in an island in the Caribbean. Okay, just as an example. Back to their answer, quote, while such loving concern for fellow believers is commendable, often there are needs that are more urgent than those that the contributor has in mind. End quote for a moment. Remember, in their own printed way, January 2005 KM question box, page 7, you've sent money to someone you want to help. They decide if there's something more urgent that they want to use their money on. Your money, excuse me. It's theirs now. Back to the quote. In some cases, the designated need has already been cared for. Yeah, okay. Of course, we can be confident that when contributions are sent to the local branch office for the worldwide work, the Kingdom Hall Fund, or disaster relief, those donated funds will be used as directed by the contributor. The brothers in all the branches have been thoroughly trained to respond quickly to unanticipated needs. End quote for a moment. You'll note they don't tell you how. They don't tell you if what you requested goes directly to these people. You're just to, have trust that they put it in the right spot. Back to the quote. If additional assistance is needed, the governing body may invite nearby branches to help, or funds may be sent directly from headquarters. Therefore, all contributions intended for the worldwide work, building projects in other lands, or disaster relief should be sent to the branch office in the land in which you live. either through the congregation or directly. In this way, the faithful and discreet slave, through the organizational arrangements set in place by the governing body, cares for the needs of the worldwide brotherhood in an orderly manner. End quote. Stumbled there a bit because I'm getting angry. So essentially, you send money, you send a gift, you want to help out that face you saw on the governing body update or in the magazines. Just send us your money. Might have already been handled. We'll use the money where we think it should go, but rest assured it's all going to be okay. And here in governing body update number 2, we see Jacob Rumpf patting themselves, the governing body, on the back because they took your money and used it where they wanted to. You know, it's a lot like the Good Samaritan in the Bible. He saw that Jewish man in the ditch, bleeding, unconscious. He passed him up and he gave the money to the mayor of the next town so the mayor could decide if he wanted to actually go back and get the beaten man out of the ditch or not. Oh, wait a minute. That's not how the parable goes? Remember, this arrangement of sending your money, they get to decide where it goes. This all allegedly comes from Jesus Christ, the very teacher of the Good Samaritan parable. But again, I digress. You do with this what you want. But carry on, Jacob. Before we return to Brother Rumpf, though, consider this. Speaking about this organization in terms of dollars and cents, and I really want to say that this should get the attention of any Jehovah's Witness bravely listening. How about a quick comparison or a bit of a deep dive into what Jacob just told us? $6 million for disaster relief. $6 million is not chump change. That sounds generous. But wait a minute. How about we compare that to the money they're allocating, I don't know, for their new movie studio in Ramapo, New York? And I got to tell you, I'm looking at the numbers here, and wait a minute. Wait a minute. According to the town of Ramapo, New York, the new resort compound is under construction. Sorry, the Watchtower property. It has an estimated cost, is this right, of $485 million. So I'm doing some quick math here, and I hate math, and mainly because they seem to be very proud in this update of the $6 million to help the Jewish man laying in the ditch, like the Good Samaritan did, and otherwise known as people who have been victims of disasters in the first 6 months of the service year. $6 million to all these people who might be homeless and starving, doesn't matter. I got to tell you, the compound is $485 million, the movie studio, and they're proud of the $6 million they gave to people who don't even have a place to live? The governing body is proud to announce that they gave 1.2% of their net worth to people who lost family members, homes, utilities, property, food, all of their worldly possessions in what Jacob said was 100 disasters worldwide. Yeah, you really should be smiling during this update, Brother Rumpf, while you and your 10 best friends build a state-of-the-art movie studio for an estimated $500 million. You sent the very followers of Jehovah affected by 100 disasters, well, you sent them some beans and rice. But let's show how you claim to truly care for Jesus' sheep. You see, the Watchtower and Bible and Tract Society, they listed the book value of its assets, are you ready for this, at $1,451,217,000, and they listed this on their 2015, that's 10 years ago, IRS Form 990T. You can view it online. 10 years ago, they were worth almost $2 billion. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're worth more than that now, particularly after several real estate transactions in Brooklyn. But back to governing body update number 2 and the amazing generosity of the governing body. They saw those 100 disasters in the first 6 months of the service year, and those guys opened their wallets to help others. So just how much did they give? Again, doing some quick math, which I hate, they said they gave $6 million, and Jacobs is all smiles on this. And $6 million is 0.6% of $1 billion. Setting the matter straight, Brother Jacob Rumpf and his fellow king priests want you to know that they took your money and handed a very, 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 very small portion of it over to people who had nowhere to live and were in desperate need. The rest of that money you sent? Well, come on now. Don't ask about that. Let's not talk about where the rest of the money went. We gave them $6 million, 0.6% of our net worth. And by the way, can I invite you to stop asking that question? Have you seen our new visitor center where grown adults grow beards and stand there in costumes pretending like they're Israelites? Or have you seen our new apartment complexes? Have you seen us break ground on a new state-of-the-art movie studio? If you're a witness, you must think about these things. As I watch this guy full of pride for taking other people's money, skimming what they wanted off the top, and giving a few pennies to people who are now homeless due to disaster, I gotta tell you, folks, I was reminded of what this guy's boss told us at 1 John chapter 3, verses 16 through 18 of the New World Translation, where Jesus Christ said, quote, "By this we have come to know love, because that one surrendered his life for us. And we are under obligation to surrender our lives for our brothers. But whoever has the material possessions of this world and sees his brother, including those who are affected by 100 disasters worldwide in the first 6 months of the service year, whoever sees his brother in need and yet refuses to show him compassion, in what way does the love of God remain in him?" End quote. And I can hear the contrarians now. Well, come on, man. The governing body did give them something, and even those breadcrumbs are worth mentioning, right? I mean, this is important to tell people what you did. I mean, 0.6% of the net worth of a nonprofit organization whose sole reason for existence is to save people's lives. I mean, wow. Jacob, we are really impressed. What a powerful intro. I'm just going to state now, clearly I'm sarcastic. I am disgustingly underwhelmed. In fact, when I was watching this in the update, I was angry, then I was laughing. Typical experience on this show. And I wasn't laughing at anyone involved. I was laughing at the governing body. You guys don't even try to hide what you are anymore. Is it any wonder that last month, David Splain is on JW broadcast telling Jehovah's Witnesses to stop questioning our building projects? There are people who are without homes trying to navigate clean water and have something to eat. Disasters. And these guys want you to know they took your money and sent them some pocket change. But then I found myself pondering the irony of him sharing this fact at all. Why does Jacob want to get on camera and make sure we know the governing body gave $6 million? Why is he telling us this? When you consider this, again, from their boss, Jesus Christ, Matthew chapter 6, verses 3 and 4 of the New World Translation, which says, quote, "But you, when making gifts of mercy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your gifts of mercy may be in secret. Then your Father who looks on in secret will repay you." End quote. He ends this part by saying, quote, "We thank all of you for your loving support." End quote. Folks, I just shook my head. This is a grown man looking mostly other grown adults who follow them in the face, saying, "Thanks for sending us money. We took what we wanted to give these people just like you listening. We gave them a little bit of money. We gave them a little bit of something, but we took the rest of it for more urgent, pressing matters. And by the way, we want you to know how generous we are." What? Did you notice any of this? As you look in the background of several shots of this video, you actually see something that should really, really get your attention. And I'll give you one guess what it is that is prominently displayed in the video montage of this update showing construction in Southern California and people scrambling in a Kingdom Mall parking lot, helping those whose houses have burned to the ground. If you look at this video and you aren't already completely off in left field, realizing this guy takes our money, takes what he wants off the top, gives a little bit back to people who really need it, the very people who sent him the money, he gives them a little bit of their money back. If that doesn't do it enough, watch the video. Because it is no accident. I'll give you one guess what is prominently displayed in the background of several shots. It includes a big blue sticker on emergency vehicles, construction vehicles. Yeah. The JW.org blue sticker is on proud display on each of the vehicles in the background of this video. Because driving around advertising your website is the best way to keep your secret relief work and gifts a big secret, right? Jesus said, "Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing." It's a secret. Your Father's looking on in secret, otherwise known as putting JW.org on vehicles and driving around Southern California. It's no secret what's going on here. It's right under everyone's nose. You can view what they're doing. But now, back to the wisdom of the faithful and discreet slave in this month's update. Brother Rumpf then says, quote, "Of course, material assistance is just one way we provide support to our brothers and sisters. We also provide spiritual encouragement and emotional support. This is highlighted in the following video of our relief efforts in the state of California in the United States. You'll recall that devastating wildfires erupted there in January of this year." End quote. As always, I encourage you to go watch this for yourself. I realize that my take on what they show is only that. It's my take. Some will agree, some will disagree. But there were a few things from this video montage of the Southern California fires and how Jehovah's Witnesses, particularly the governing body, supported people that were left with nothing. And some of these things stood out to me immediately, things that I probably would have missed if I was a Jehovah's Witness. They first show a brief interview with a single sister and mother in what looks like, I still can't figure this out, folks. I'm just so puzzled as to who did this. It looks like a fully functional and decorated home. It's in such good shape, it's complete with very healthy looking green plants strategically placed throughout the living room. There's framed pictures and her walls are whitewashed. But we're treated to a scene of what must be Jehovah's Witness volunteers with brooms and mops wiping the walls and vacuuming. The house looks great. It's probably cleaner than mine. And I had to laugh because this is a clearly staged scene. It's clearly staged. The house looks amazing. There's not a char mark to be seen. It looks like a normal home. Did I mention again that they had beautiful green plants in every shot? Are we to believe this sister's home was ravaged by the fire? What am I watching? What am I watching? It literally looks like she has hired a maid service and we're seen cleaning her already very clean home that's fully intact. I roared with laughter because I couldn't help. Who directed this film? Who directed this video? Should they have at least found someone to pretend to be, I don't know, picking up burnt bricks outside a home that was devastated? That's not what they did. They want you to know that your disaster relief dollars, part of the $6 million, went to this single sister and mother, which is very noble, but for what looks like a good spring cleaning. And I wanted to ask, could I get that at my place? It is so bizarre. Let's show a perfectly clean home with people jammed in a living room. There's like 5 or 6 people with vacuums and mops cleaning a home that looks like it's been cleaned by experts. It looks great. It is so strange. But how about another thought? Here they are propping up the organization during a time of massive tragedy. It's a slick video production with stock drone shots and flyovers showing the devastation in California. How much money at that point sprung to my mind? How much money was spent on just producing this video to show on governing body update number 2? Could we have used that money to help someone? To feed someone? To get them a place to live? The irony shouldn't be lost on all of us. We've got slick video production showing how amazing we are. How much money did you spend on this video production? When helping other people, do we really need to make a movie to show ourselves helping other people? See Matthew 6, 3, and 4 again from the executive producer of this video, a guy named Jesus Christ, who said, when you're giving gifts of mercy, do it, quote, in secret. Nothing like a slick video production to keep a good secret, right? How much money did they waste on this? Something else that hit me in the face watching this update and this video segment. There's not a young person in sight for most of this video. Those interviewed and inspecting the fire-ravaged homes were all middle-aged or elderly and predominantly African American. You see a couple of what might be younger Jehovah's Witnesses helping that sister whose house looks great clean her house and wipe down her already whitewashed walls. But they might be young. You don't really see because they're locked into safety vest and construction gear inside a house that looks like it's ready for a good showing. But the fact that there's so little young people is very telling. And I say that because this is all shot, allegedly, in California of the United States, where young people are leaving this organization in droves. Fact. A brother in this shot, getting his 15 minutes of fame in a video, we aren't ever given his name or bio, by the way, then says this, quote, "Our brothers and sisters have gone through great loss, even their own homes. And yet, while the physical needs are handled," and I then said, "They are? How? Did you rebuild homes?" We're not told. He says, quote, "and helped with by means of the disaster relief arrangement." There's that $6 million. It's the spiritual needs that also need to be given attention to, end quote. And as soon as he says it, we all know what's coming. Now that we've alluded to how we are spending your money, It's time for a card-carrying member of Heaven's 11 to make an appearance in the video. Viewers are whisked away at this point to shots of the illustrious and freshly bearded governing body member Mark Sanderson in a Kingdom Hall handing out hugs in his safety vest. Oddly, he's got the safety vest on and he also has a necktie. I thought those weren't even necessary anymore. That was new light. But you're at a construction project where houses are burnt to the ground. Get yourself a good necktie, Mark Sanderson. But here he is at a disaster relief site, ready to give out hugs. The video then montages on where we see him giving a talk to the relief workers where he says, quote, Jehovah has protected you in the most important way because you have not lost your faith and you have not lost your relationship with God, end quote. I thought, what? People in that audience might be relief workers or people who lost everything they have on the planet. And you're mentioning that, well, good thing you haven't lost your relationship with Jehovah. Strange comment. Strange comment, but when everything's rooted in fear, it bleeds out. And you see it in this talk. The music swells, and we're back to a middle-aged brother we can't identify, same one saying, quote, this is Jehovah's physical evidence that he loves you, end quote. Is it now? We see shots of sisters crying and hugging, and then we are taken to a shot of governing body helper Gary Bro, he of Don't Hump Your Pillows at Bethel fame, looking at a burned down house with two other brothers. Lots of shots with music of people crying and hugging, and I might add, with good reason. This is absolutely devastating. Make no mistake. It includes shots of an elderly sister walking what looks like a late night show greeting line of Jehovah's Witnesses holding up signs saying they love her. There's even signs in sign language for deaf people saying they love her. The whole thing just seemed odd and staged, even though I'm sure the people in these videos, in fairness, mean well. There's good people. But then this camera is in this sister's face as she walks through this greeting line. She's bawling, of course. The video montage continues with more people walking through these signs, this greeting line in what looks like what must be a Kingdom Hall. Messages about throwing your burden on Jehovah and more tears. In what is a horrific event for these poor people, it's obvious it's devastating, and there's lots of loving, well-intentioned Jehovah's Witnesses in the shots showing their love to these victims of the fire. But look, I'm being cynical. It's my nature. I couldn't shake the irony watching Governing Body Update number 2. The irony of a video on their website about the organization glorifying what they are doing to help people with those very people's same money. Sorry, folks, but these videos have a purpose. They're a marketing engine. You might even say they have a few purposes. One of them is, hey, look at us. Look at us. We're so loving. The very people with those book carts that you pass by in the park. Look at us. And a second reason pops to mind. Nothing gets us as humans to part with our money faster than putting faces to a tragedy. See, lots to be done here, folks. People need this. Send money. Money we will allocate to see where we think it fits best. And if you think I'm being too critical that that's what these videos are for, fair enough. But am I the only one who watches late night TV? Rarely anymore. And on come these commercials for disabled children or pets that have been abused. And they go on for about 10 minutes with music. And you suddenly realize you've been sitting there bawling watching this commercial. And they're asking for money. Yeah, it works. It's always worked. So here we are in Governing Body Update, even as we're looking at people who've lost everything they have, their homes, their possessions, everything, we are jolted back to the reality of this organization. So I don't think I'm the only one that cries at those commercials. I'm not the only one who starts to open that wallet when it thinks it might benefit someone. And that's the purpose of these videos. The reality of this organization is this, folks. This org owns billions, and I mean billions in real estate, including apartment buildings, homes, corporate campuses. For just as one example, in January 2023, they purchased the former Geico Woodbury, New Jersey property for a paltry $27 million. They spent more money on the property than they did on Jehovah's Witnesses needing relief. 6 million versus 27 million for but that is just one property, and it sits on 20 acres and is 236,365 square feet. Could that give a few people some shelter? Am I the only one that thinks this stuff? Are they now moving these Jehovah's Witnesses who've experienced 100 disasters in this service year? Are they moving them into this property, those displaced by fires or disasters? Are these really unreasonable questions? It's the very same people's money anyway that they're buying these properties. And look, what makes this entire video empty and downright appalling is that we're looking at Mark Sanderson and Gary Bro visiting burned out homes at the very same time that Mark Sanderson and Gary Bro and a whole lot of other guys just like them are building a state-of-the-art resort compound complete with a movie studio in Ramapo, New York, on the other coast. At the very same time, their flock, these Jehovah's Witnesses, are being made homeless. They're spending $500 million on their sprawling New York compound instead of using donated money from the very people of these disasters to help them. Have you put any thought to this? They're standing there in this video looking at burned out houses and then flying back to New York. I got nothing on this. The absurdity is off the scale. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're not questioning what you're watching in this update, far be it from me to point out the obvious. But make a video showing you hugging, crying people who've lost everything. Then get on an airplane, fly back to New York, and go see the construction progress on your 242-acre Ramapo, New York project that apparently Jesus Christ is pouring his heart and soul into with, did I mention, your money? Even as the people who sent the money in Southern California are now homeless. Marvel at the proposed 1.5 million square foot building for video production. Marvel at the 10 buildings in Ramapo that will hold 645 bedrooms. Marvel at the 120,000 square feet of photovoltaics to harness solar energy. Marvel at how Jesus has approved 30% of the parking spots in Ramapo to include electric charging stations. Because, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses and Bethelites, they're known for driving Teslas. Get out your phones and take photos of their own microgrid powering this compound. And if none of that impresses you, take note of the award Jesus Guys received from the New York State Energy and Development Authority for building what is called a best-in-class construction project for the environment. That would be Ramapo's movie studio. The same environment that Jesus will soon turn into a paradise anyway. You can't watch this video update, see Mark Sanderson in front of burnt-down buildings, and not realizing he's going on an airplane to do what I just reeled off. And just a reminder, Matthew chapter 8 and verse 20 said this from the New World Translation, quote, "But Jesus said to him, foxes have dens and birds of heaven have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay down his head." End quote. And well, he does now. He does now. It's in Ramapo, New York. When you're the son of Jehovah God and you know what it's like to be homeless, like he was on his first visit here, you're apparently going to make damn sure you have an award-winning place to lay your head when you return to a planet you claim to be destroying everything on and starting over with a paradise. If you don't think any of this is true, I'm handing out URLs this episode. If you want to look at a detailed listing of all of what is going into the Ramapo, New York project, even as those in Southern California are sweeping up the ashes of their homes, you can visit another website greenlit by Jesus himself, allegedly. Here it is, jw.avcenter.org. Go check it out. Prepare to be appalled. Can you tell at this point that I really love this governing body update? Man, did I love this one. Brother Rumpf goes on to then more people and then delivers the most important message of this update. He says, quote, "Of course, all of us who contribute funds are also essential to this work. In fact, we all have a share in what 2 Corinthians 8:4 calls the relief ministry. And when we support this ministry, we also become fellow workers with Jehovah." End quote. You see, your accountant that manages your money, he's every bit as responsible for the successful business you built as well. He's also going to use the money the way he wants to. And folks, I stumbled upon something new to even me, something new to me. Check this out. Would you like to know what 2 Corinthians 8:4 that Brother Jacob Rumpf just mentioned in the update says in the New World Translation? I couldn't believe my eyes. Hold on tight. 2 Corinthians 8:4 here quoted, "You are a fellow worker with Jehovah," goes on to say, quote, "While they on their own initiative keep earnestly begging us for the privilege of kindly giving to have a share in the relief ministry for the holy ones." End quote. Wait a minute. What? What? Did the Apostle Paul, when he wrote to the Corinthians in 2 Corinthians, did he use the term relief ministry? Because Jacob's been using it a lot in this update. Is this where he got it from? Did he now? I couldn't stop laughing. Welcome to the translators of the New World Translation. Go back and look at their older Bibles. They've changed this to relief ministry. I can't imagine why. When you compare this verse with other respected Bible translations, you get things like this from the New International Version, NIV, quote, "They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in this service to the Lord's people," end quote. No mention of relief ministry. From the Christian Standard Bible, another wildly popular translation, we get, quote, "They begged us insistently for the privilege of sharing in the ministry to the saints," end quote. Where's this mention of relief ministry? Now, where could this have come from? The very Bible, the New World Translation. I'm sure the Apostle Paul was leaning into his Greek to come up with the term relief ministry, because Jacob Rumpf has used that exact phrase several times in this update, and the New World Translation now includes it. And there it is. Anything to get their message across, including how they translate the Bible, even as they expose themselves. And I'll be willing to bet that most Jehovah's Witnesses will not even look up his reference that he tells them in the update. They won't even look at it. They've got Brother Rumpf smiling away about $6 million for relief work surrounding 100 disasters in 6 months, even as they build a $500 million movie studio in the United States. Ignoring this is what we call cognitive dissonance, gaslighting. There is a reason, as I mentioned, that David Splane got on JW Broadcasting this month and told people, witnesses, to quit questioning their building projects. That Jehovah will stop them, remember, if he doesn't approve. Jehovah's Witnesses are tapping into this thing called common sense right now. There are thinkers in that organization. Some of us used to be there. We know that's how we broke free. Therefore, it's obvious that the governing body is in overdrive trying to gaslight their people into compliance and send more money. And oh, by the way, did we tell you we won an environmental award for our really cool construction project? Even as people's houses burn. It's an incredible display, an absolute expose, an inside look at the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. Scratch past the frosting, the surface, folks. Think about this. However, moving along, just when you didn't think this update with Jacob Rumpf could get worse, in my opinion, it kind of does. Following a big pat themselves on the back, the governing body, for sharing the pocket change of Jehovah's Witnesses suffering by giving them back some of their money, Brother Rumpf takes a few minutes in the middle of the episode to highlight something I didn't see coming. The organization's commitment to reading, writing, and literacy. And make no mistake, this isn't about literacy. What he says is about indoctrination. It's what cults do. Brother Rumpf takes us to the one place on earth these 11 men love to visit when highlighting what they're doing for developing countries. Want to take a guess what continent they point at? I know you said it out loud. We're back in Africa. This is 2 months, 2 meetings in a row now. This time, we're going to Mozambique, which incidentally is the very country many Jehovah's Witnesses have fled to and were fleeing to during all the 1970s violence in Malawi. In yet another way of showing how humble they are by giving gifts in secret, the governing body uses this update to talk about how they're teaching Africans to read and write. Before you think it's all noble, stick around. How are they doing this? Well, they're doing this via what he calls an updated version of a publication that they made in 1997 called Apply Yourself to Reading and Writing. It's now called Lessons in Reading and Writing. If you haven't seen the original publication, I can't encourage you enough to go look at it online. You can download it. I don't believe they've posted the updated version yet. I looked for it, the one he's showcasing in the video. I don't think it's online yet, but he says it will be. Look at the one they're updating. Straight talk when you find it. This publication is an outright abomination. Just when you think you've completely healed from the indoctrination you received inside this organization, or maybe I did, you stumble into something like this, and I felt rage. He says that 3 different branches have been asked to pilot this new tool in 3 different languages. He says these same 3 branches of their organization is setting up literacy classes. I'm sure they're places, like England, Australia, and the US, right? Nah, not likely. He doesn't say, but he gives a clue when he asks, quote, "Why is this so important? Well, let's hear from two branch committee brothers who serve in Sydney, Australia. No. New York. Nope. In Mozambique. And off to Africa we go yet again to teach Africans how to be literate. The true brothers featured in the interview, oddly enough, imagine this, are not from Mozambique. One is Caucasian and has an accent I can't make out. The other is a black brother who appears to be American. His name is Lamar Wilson, and he speaks perfect American English. They talk, we have video flashes, blah, blah, blah. They tell us that many of their publishers, I want to underline that, they say that many of their publishers cannot read or write, and that it limits them in the Bible study work. I'm going to let you sit with that for milliseconds because this is a podcast. Publishers cannot read or write, and it's limiting their Bible study work. What? How then did these very same publishers read the Bible themselves and become a Jehovah's Witness? They can't read or write. They can't teach the Bible to others. How are they publishers? How did they prove to themselves that this organization has the truth? And how were they able to get baptized? They can't read or write. Come on now, people. Don't ask important questions. These guys tell us they're now baptized publishers. Now, after they're baptized in publishing, now we will teach them to read and write with this book and literacy classes. Brother Lamar Wilson tells us in the video, quote, so to address this concern, that being the concern that they're baptized publishers who can't read the Bible or teach it to others, to address this concern, we've been inviting the publishers to attend literacy classes, end quote. Brother Wilson Lamar and King Jacob Rumpf, our host. How can someone be a publisher of the good news when they themselves cannot read or write? How are they teaching others about the Bible when they can't read the Bible themselves? How did they get baptized? How are they publishers? Sit with it. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, former missionary, pioneer, any of these things, how do you explain this insanity in this update? We've gone over the relief work. I'm on to literacy. How do you explain this? How can you have a Bible study with anyone when you yourself can't read? And by extension, because you can't read, you have never read the Bible yourself. How did you become a baptized publisher? This organization is exposing itself at an alarming rate, and it is completely off the rails. But isn't it uncomfortable to think that there are Jehovah's Witnesses watching this update and not even asking these same questions? It's just a passing comment on a video without very few thinking about it. It's shocking. It's a throwaway that most people won't catch. But there it is. But back to the new brochure and what they claim is the loving act of teaching literacy. In a word, I'm going to call it bullshit. Apologies. It's a gross lie. This isn't about teaching literacy. They are openly indoctrinating people in developing countries. If you think these are the ravings of a demonic apostate who just happens to have a microphone, think again. This governing body update with Jacob Rumpf provides the proof of what they are doing. Go look at this publication. he shows it. I have the one created in 1997. You can too. Download it. It's more than enough to show what they're doing to people. But he ignorantly holds the publication up on screen like they do at the conventions to show us how excited they are about this brochure. A brochure that might be teaching literacy somewhat, but is most certainly indoctrinating people. It's brainwashing those that can't read or write with their teachings. And my rage comes from the fact that they are doing this to children. There is a photograph, look for it on this podcast, social media, and YouTube tile. He shows them in the video indoctrinating children. Now, you may think, come on now, he's teaching them to read, teaching them how to read and write. I want to point out they're already baptized publishers and teaching other people something they can't do themselves. Put that aside. Let's look at the brochure together. How about this? On page 3, this is the message. You tell me if this is just teaching people to read and write. It says, quote, for the teacher, page 3, it is vital to motivate the student. From the first session, the teacher should show the benefits of being able to read. Okay, so far so good. Tell the students that if they apply themselves, they will be able to read the Bible, read the words to songs from our songbook, read stories to their children, participate more in Christian meetings, and generally improve their lives. End quote. There it is. The mission statement. There it is. Get these illiterate people to be free messengers of our teachings, to sing our songs, drag them to kingdom halls, to the meetings, read our stories to their children. I got to tell you, I was pissed watching. I'm pissed now. And oh, by the way, at the end, it improves their lives too. Isn't that nice? What kinds of stories should these illiterate people learn to read so they can read them to their children? I thought you'd never ask. How about the one featured on page 16 of this brochure? Hold on tight. This is going to shock you. And we almost pulled it off in this long episode, but nope. Here he is. On page 16, we are shown an illustration of an ark at sea. It says, have the student underline the letter O in the following words. God said a flood would come. God told Noah to build a boat. Noah was a good man. Homework assignment, students should practice writing the letter O. Page 16. End quote. That's what they're teaching them. But if that doesn't make you laugh, then possibly cry as you picture a beautiful African kid from Mozambique, which is literally the very place you will find zebras, lions, rhinos, hippos. That's a fact, folks. Struggling to understand as he's learning to read, and this is being read to him by his parents who have just learned to read, trying to understand how a 500-year-old guy was able to wrestle one of these animals when they've spent their very lives protecting themselves from the same animals that this guy saved and now they run scared from all the time in Mozambique. If you can't contemplate that, I don't know what to tell you, but imagine being the kid. You talk about a moment of cognitive dissonance for an African kid in Mozambique who is given this brochure. But the governing body is just trying to teach them to read, right? And well, this guy was able to find rhinos and drag them to his boat. He also found lions and zebras. Never mind that these kids see these animals with their own eyes in everyday life and they can't get near them. Thanks, Noah. Can't miss a week, my guy. But then it takes a turn and gets more serious. And this is the part that every Jehovah's Witness should pay attention to. They're pointing to how they're teaching people to read and to write, literacy. Aren't we giving? Note this. On page 55, which I will post on the social media sites for this podcast, maybe especially the YouTube tile, which features them teaching Africans how to read dates and chronology. You know, calendars, dates, chronology. And when you look at that, this brochure, complete with childish cartoons, incidentally, the entire brochure looks like it's made for children, childish illustrations. But if you look closely, there isn't a clock or calendar when teaching them about dates. Do you know what they are teaching them in this brochure? An illiterate person on this planet, taught by Jehovah's Witnesses, first learns to read dates by being introduced on page 55 to 607 BCE. You can't make this up. On the same page, once you've learned all about 607 BCE, which, by the way, is not the year Jerusalem was destroyed, it's a lie from the get-go, this nice person who just thinks they're being taught to read and write is introduced to 1914. And we all know what the message is and what this means as to what they're teaching them. The same people teaching you to read or write, well, the Bible and everything you're learning here is all about them. You need them. The people that are teaching you how to read and write by pointing to dates made up by them. For anyone, and I do mean anyone, who wants to reach out and claim that their literacy reading and writing program is nothing more than a gift from the heart, I am ready for you. Post it. Come at me. Teaching illiterate people how to read and write is truly noble. But this is a blatant, concrete example of Jehovah's Witness indoctrination. The same stuff that worked on many of us that were born into this organization and know how to read and write. We actually have a leg up on these poor people, and we still fell for it. When you see King Rumpf showing photos of beautiful kids being taught this stuff, you should feel sick. Because that's exactly what this is. Sick. And people wonder why these men go after children like they do. Because children and impressionable minds and uneducated, illiterate minds are low-hanging fruit for Heaven's 11. Teach them to read the way we want them to read. Sick. Indoctrination on full display in this governing body update. So I'll just say be on the lookout for this new publication, and I highly recommend checking out the 1997 version online now, which is now one of my favorite proofs of how this cult operates and how it indoctrinates people, especially those that are down. And this brainwashing brochure ends with the most absurd of statements. See if you can catch it. The brochure ends with congratulations, quote, congratulations. You have now learned the basic reading skills. You have learned the alphabet and many word patterns. You have also learned to read Bible stories, to sing kingdom songs, and to look up scriptures in the Bible. Continue to make progress in your reading and writing. Remember, the more you practice, the better you will become at it. As a Christian, you will want to become adept at turning to and reading scriptures in the Bible. This brochure will help you do that. End quote. Question from the rest of us. I'm going to pound it home, folks. You just said great job on learning how to read the Bible. Right before you said that I was already a Christian and I should keep sharpening my skills with the Bible. And here's the question. How in the hell did I become a Christian before I was able to read the Bible? that I was able to read what Jesus said or contemplate any of his teachings. How did I become a Christian before I could do that? Didn't I do this backwards? Insane. Insane. And with that, I'm going to get off the soapbox. I think we have here one of the more damning governing body updates of all time. Sure, it's not Toni Morris slurring on camera or Stephen Lett boldly calling babies enemies of God or David Splain telling Jehovah's Witnesses to quit questioning their building projects. But folks, with this update, we have the poor new guy, King Jacob Rumpf, drawing the short straw, apparently, marching out in front of mankind, the angels, and his boss, Jesus Christ, and looking like a selfish moron. Look at us. We have $6 million, even as we're building a $500 million movie studio. Or Jacob Rumpf saying, look, we teach people how to read, and we brainwash them into becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. This update is one for the ages. It's textbook delusion, narcissism, gaslighting, greed, and I'm just going to add stupidity. Just a reminder to the JWs that stayed for this long-winded rant. From the Watchtower of 2009, February 15th, page 27, you're told, quote, since Jehovah God and Jesus Christ completely trust the faithful and discreet slave, should we not do the same? End quote. I'll end in my own question. Does this month's governing body update number 2 deepen your trust in the governing body? Only each of us can answer that question. I want to thank you for being here this week. Wherever you may be well.